Joining me, Minister Anita Kelly of AK Ministries, here to give you another segment of For Real, For Real. Tonight I'm excited. We're going to talk about All in the Family. I have invited some special guests to come along and talk about our family dynamics and position in our families. And I hope that this will be enlightening. I hope that this will be eye-opening for you. And so stay tuned as I introduce my guest for tonight. Hello, welcome to the round table. Tonight is All in the Family. And tonight I have myself, Minister Anita Kelly, my baby sister, Eileen McLemore, my beautiful cousins, and guess what? They are sisters. That's Kamala Jones, and this is Kaya McLemore. And they are sisters, and we are cousins! Are you ready? So, we're going to have a discussion tonight because we have the right dynamic here. Not only are we family, we grew up together, doing family things together, but we also have different dynamics. I am the third child, but I am the first daughter. My sister is the baby of the family. She's the youngest of the family. And then I have Kamala, who is the oldest of four. And I have Kaya, who is the youngest in her family. And our family dynamics were just a little different because my sister and I had our mother and our father. And then our father passed away. And then the dynamic in the family changed. So we're going to talk about how that happens. And then I have Kamala and Kaya, who grew up with a single mother household. And so the dynamics in that home were just a little bit different. So we're going to share, we're going to talk about how it's all in the family, how we communicate and how we get along in our roles that are in our family, which is so very important. And so it's just interesting that we were having a discussion because really it's based on where you are positioned in your family. It has a lot to do with your personality, believe it or not, and how you handle situations and even how you handle people in your immediate family and your children as you start raising your children. So you don't realize how these things come into play. And so when you're trying to get to know and understand someone, you need to really look at where their position is in their family that they were raised in and kind of see what responsibilities they had or did not have. Was there structure or not? And so all these things, believe it or not, have a lot to do with our development and what make us who we are. And so we're going to talk a little bit. Each person's going to speak about their perspectives and growing up and what they experienced. And but I just want to share something. There's a lot of research out there dealing with this topic. And so one thing I wanted to talk about before I have them speak, I want to talk about statistics on research on what the firstborn child, the characteristics used of a firstborn child. And so in most research reports that I read, it talks about the firstborn child being the high achiever. And it says that the eldest children tend to be high achievers, and the leaders who may be controlling and they may be bossy and likely to take on more responsibility, because in most cases the firstborn child had more responsibilities than the other. And so we even talked about gender roles. We talked about how it makes a difference whether you're a male or female in the household, and how that comes to also play into it. So firstborns, the research says, tend to be high achievers, perfectionists, responsible, goal setters, determined rule keepers, and detailed people. Now, see my firstborn over here, she's smiling because I think she believed that those are the characteristics that she had. but I'm gonna let her speak on that in just a moment. And then we have the second child, or you might call the middle children, because we had 4 in our home, so we had 2 middle kids. The oldest, my 2 brothers are older than me, so we have the 2 brothers and myself being the first girl, and then my younger sister. So what happens is, my second brother and myself consider ourselves the middle kids, and then you got the bookends. We call them the oldest and the youngest. And so, so we talk about the second and middle children, and they tend to be the peacemakers, more diplomatic, more flexible, free spirits, generous, and maybe a little more competitive. And it talks about middle children seeking attention more from friends, because the firstborn children compensate. I'm sorry, because they have to compensate for lack of family attention, usually because the firstborn and the youngest tend to get the most attention in the family. So that leaves the middle children looking to seek more attention from friends and others outside of the family. Where if I back up, when it talked about the firstborn seek approval. Say they seek approval are usually perfectionists and tend to have more in common with other firstborns than they do with their own siblings, because why? They relate better with people who probably think more like them. So I just can't wait to dive into this. Then we have the youngest child, and we have 2 sitting here, and Cam is sitting between them. God bless her. But they call them youngest children tend to be more outgoing and charming to get attention, yet have a greater sense of independence. They tend to have more freedom and are subsequently more likely to try new things and do what they want to do. And so some of the characteristics of the younger children are charmers, risk takers, outgoing, persistent. They're ideas people, they're creative, and they challenge authority. That sounds like those babies. They challenge authority in the house. So we want to talk about that. I'm going to let each one come and introduce themselves and tell you what role they have in their family, and just share whatever it is they like to share about their role. Then we're going to get into more discussion about the family dynamics. I'll start with my sister, Eileen.
Eileen Diana McLemore. I am the 4th, the last. Save the best for last. That's me. What would they do without me? So I had to come, liven up the place, bring a little spark.
What happened?
It was just too humdrum and mediocre without me. Well, anyway, so, wow. My role as an adult. So when I was little, I'm sure most of you know the stories, but I was like, I had to have my things just for me. I didn't want to use, their stuff. I had to have my stuff, my deodorant, my soap. I had to have my jeans taken to the cleaners, just little things. So I was just, and I didn't like anybody messing with my stuff. And I still don't, but.
Yeah.
So I just had to have things that were mine, and I like my stuff organized, and I don't like anybody messing with it. And then I, sought a career, went to FAMU, got a couple degrees, because I wanted to, map out my plan and achieve it, or try to get there. So as an adult, seems like I'm more. I kind of seem like I'm the older person. Like I do everything because I guess that's just what I do, because I'm kind of a perfectionist. So, and it's like.
Because you think nobody else can do it but you. That's just.
I mean, really. I always have to go behind people anyway, but anyway. So.
You don't have to. She don't have to. She chooses to because she thinks she's the only one that can do it right. The perfectionist. Okay, go.
And 99.9% of the time, it's true. Unless it's Demetrius, my twin, leaves no direction. But everyone knows these stories. But anyway, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm just like perfectionist, organizer, detail. That's me, and I like things to flow nicely. So that's why it may appear to be bossy, one track mind, because this dies away, and that's pretty much it,
She actually admitted that.
right? I mean, because I candy. What were we talking about? Oh, some decorations for some event. Kimmy was giving me ideas. I say, Kimmy, I just need you to just what did I say?
Just follow her.
Just follow me.
And I said,
I'm
yes,
so sorry.
ma'am.
But that's just how I am. And so that's what goal getters do. We just kind of got our path, and this is the way to get there. And taking care of my mom, it's me. Just taking the lead in things. That's just my nature. So, but on the flip side, if anything happens to anybody, any one of y'all, I am the first one to be there. On the flip side, so I give you my heart without second thought. So, yeah.
Okay, so now we'll hear from Kamala.
Okay, I'm Kamala Jones, as Anita said before. I'm the eldest of four in a single parent home with my mom. Growing up, I had the responsibility as being, like a second mom. That's what I was telling my cousins about that. If my mom wasn't there, I had to be the one that was to control. So I felt that I had to take on the responsibility of the mother. And to this day, I'm still called Mama Cammy. I'm still called Grandma in some ways because I'm always, wanting them to do the right thing. I'm always expressing how, you shouldn't do that. Don't do that. Do this, this type of thing. So my sister, which is sitting next to me, always told me that she felt like she was double teamed between my mom and myself because she felt like we were always telling her what to do, which in aspects of me being a sister was like, me? I didn't feel like I was telling her what to do. I felt like I was giving her sisterly advice, but it was up to her whether she wanted to, take that advice and do what we were saying. But she took it as we were telling her what to do. So in the roles that we play, in the lives, you tend to continue to take that role on as you go on in your relationships. In the marriage and so forth, in that type of thing. Because I had, in the beginning, me and my husband, we butt heads because I had that strong, independent personality of taking control and making sure things are being done. And my husband had to let me know, I got this, baby. I got this. And so it was hard for me to let go of portion of that role as far as that is concerned, as of me stepping back and not being the one always in control and want to organize things, and just like some of the things that Minister Anita read off. Now, some of the stuff I feel like I'm not much of. I am a bit of a procrastinator sometimes. Sometimes I have to get the file in front of me to get some things accomplished. But for the most part, if it's on my mind, it's going to get done. And, as far as that aspect. But my role, I felt like growing up as a child was being another mother in the home pretty much. Because when my mom had to go to work and working 2 jobs, I'm home with the siblings. They had to listen to me. They had to do what I said for them to do. And that's the way my mama made it to be plain to be. So in that aspect, that's how in terms that I, was raised, and I tended to be that way throughout life, of being that responsible one, the one you can always count on, the one that's going to be there, and the one that's there when nobody else is not there. That's me. So I turn it over to my sister.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kaya, and I am the youngest out of four. Um, Being that you just heard from my sister, she is the oldest, and I have two brothers in between. Growing up, she was the second one, and we had to do whatever she says or consequences. So growing up with her is like not not having a sister to talk to and just brothers. Um, my brothers understood I had always confided in them more than I did her. Because talking to her was just like talking to my mom. And who wants to talk to their mom about what they're going through? Especially if they don't want to listen to you. So, growing up and with us sharing a room, I didn't touch none of her things. Never, ever, 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 never did I touch any of her things. Because I knew that there was consequences if I touched it. And she would realize if someone touched either one thing off her dresser. So I never touched anything. So like just growing up, being the youngest is not always not having a voice. Pretty much hold a lot of things in. So I just grew up learning how to do everything my brother knew how to do. Because that's what I thought my life was about, is growing up doing what they had taught me to do and not having a voice. So I found joy and I was happy in doing that. And I just stayed content in doing that. I didn't have to express my feelings too much around my brother them. They just let me be me. And like growing up like that, now, until now, me and my sister, we talk about a lot of things, and I try to tell her sometimes when she talk to me, she come at me like you my mom, and she always say, you don't like to listen. I said, I don't want to listen to you, because even though she could be saying something right, I don't want to listen. I refuse to block it out, because it's not coming from a sister, it's coming from, you don't listen to what I say. Anything what I say was wrong, it ain't wrong. I'm telling you what I say. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I'm like, I shut down, and I just hold everything again. Like, go back to like, oh, she don't get me. It's no use to spoiling my beans to her when she doesn't get it. So we had a conversation about me telling her how it's received on my end versus me receiving on her end. So we had that conversation, and she finally got it. And I was like, I just need you to be a sister and just listen sometimes. And just no response back. Just listen to me. Mm-hmm. And I just want to be heard and just listen. So we had that talk. She apologized for not being a sister to me and things like that. And I accept her apology. And that's just the role that we had to play as growing up. Not that it was intentional or purposely done, but that's the role, and that's what we, as growing up, this is something that we have to learn to deal with, and that's how we was raised and taught. But hopefully, by talking, and if you guys are going through something similar to this, that you guys can listen and apply some things to what we're saying, and hope that you get a breakthrough as well.
Yes. And so what we're hearing tonight is each person kind of sharing their role in the home. And Diane and I had we have two brothers, but they are older. So I have Dirk Adrian, who's the oldest, and then Dale, who's next. And I'm actually third in line, but because I'm the first girl, then my role kind of changes. So a lot of the responsibilities, the cooking, the cleaning, and things like that fell on me. Taking care of my younger sister, while parents worked and things like that. So my oldest brother did not inherit those jobs. They feel like jobs. He didn't inherit those, nor did my second brother. So it was me having dinner cooked, having the house clean, and things like that. And so the male responsibility in our home was different. The boys had to make sure they took the trash out every evening, and they did have a week we rotated washing dishes. The three of us, my younger sister at that time was not in that rotation, so So I felt like I was the oldest because I had responsibilities very similar to Kamala, because if anything happened in that house, it didn't fall on the firstborn, which was a male. It fell on me being female. So when this happens, and then as you go through life, as Kamala says, she go to work and they call her mom, Cammy, wherever she go. Why? Because the character that she has built, because of the role that she played in her home, what you don't realize is that follows you wherever you go. So they see that character trait in you. And so, and it's probably because, maybe they're being, we can be a little bossy because we had to be bossy, and I'm speaking like I'm the oldest again, because we talk about how roles can shift in a family based on those dynamics within the family. So you have to be a certain way at home, but what we don't realize is that we're carrying it different places. We're carrying it to school, we're carrying it on our jobs, we grow up as adults, we get married, we're carrying it into relationships, we're carrying it into how we raise our children. And research is saying that a lot of times, we are putting that same pressure on our children that were placed on us, because that's the way we see it. And so each person in the family has a role to play, and it's not necessarily the same, but it's what keeps that family going. And so with that being said, and so we go about our life and we go about things, and everybody's contributing something, but they talk about parents. Each child may have been raised just a little bit different, because the first one, the parents are learning. By the time the second and third come, now they have experience. So the way they raised them might be just a little bit different from the way they did the first one now. Why? Because they have wisdom and they have something to work off of, because kids don't come with a manual, so they're learning as they go. So by the time they get to the last one, we don't know if they just get tired or what, but it seems like they just get away. The youngest seem like they get away with a lot more. And they may not feel like it, because I'm reading the article where it says the youngest feel like they left with all the hand-me-downs. If if their sizes were the same, that they're getting the leftover, everything gets cycled down, And so Cam made some very valid points when she said that she just did what they told her to do. So what happens is, when you become an adult, now you're trying to find out who you are. You're trying to find out what you like. Because if someone tells you what you like and what you should be doing all your life, you struggle with finding who you are. You struggle with trying to find out what you like and what you don't like. And so it takes a lot to come under that. But then what happens is, your other siblings sometimes will criticize you because they see you making some changes, but you're trying to scream out and say, I'm just trying to find out who I am. I'm tired of y'all telling me what to do. Now let me figure it out. Let me make some mistakes. It's okay. I'm just trying to figure it out. And so so we all have very valid points, and I'm so glad to hear that my cousins have been having conversations among each other, because now they are adults with their own families, and they're trying to build a better sister relationship, where Kay's not feeling like she's still talking to her mother. Now, don't you find that interesting now, because we're not kids anymore, that they have to have this conversation? Because what Kamala's saying is that I didn't even realize that I was doing that, And so what Kamala's desires to have a relationship with her sister, where her sister would feel like she can come to her and talk to her, and when she's not talking to her mom. So it takes open communication and open dialogue, and the willingness to listen to each other, right? The willingness to listen to each other, and then try to figure out what I need to change. I don't have to play that role like I had to play it when we were growing up. I'm not having to report to my mother or my father anymore, So I do need to come off that. But so then that helps us to soul search a little bit more. And so my sister talks about, her and kind of very similar. You can't touch their stuff. And so we had this thing in our family where we had the two sets of females. We had the divas, and we had what y'all call it, just ordinary.
Yeah.
And so if you look now, Kara and I are the ordinaries, and those are the divas. Tracy would be with the divas.
Yes.
Our beautiful cousin Tracy would be with the divas.
Tracy sits right
So if you didn't care about all those nails and stuff, then you would be with me and Kara. And we have money in the bank. And we don't care. I comb my hair in the morning. I don't have to be doing that all day long.
Right.
But they take so long to get out of the house. So we made it a joke in our family because there is a difference. The divas, right now, their nails are done, their feet are done, their hair is polished, you know. And I can care less about nail polish. Kara can care less about nail polish. And so, so within the family, you know, we were able to see the differences and the similarities that we had, and make it fun. But they are alike. You can't touch their stuff, you know. And
Right.
yeah, and so the most interesting thing is that birth order changes. Like it says, if there's a gap, a 2 to 3 year gap, it changes. So that's why now you might feel like you are the oldest because you're now taking more responsibilities in my mother's home like I used to, but now I have responsibilities in my own home. But the role has reversed now. She's taking care of most of the things in our mother's house. So the dynamic in the family can change. Situations, tragedies, you know, people die, and so that makes you sometimes have to step up. They say, you need to step up now or shift up, so then you get forced into a role that you're not used to being in, and so then you have to figure out how you're going to be in this role where people looking at you and they're expecting you to be like this, and you still trying to figure out what you need to do for this new role that you've been thrown into and you didn't ask for. So I just want to talk and let's just have some discussion on what some of these things feel like when, you know, as adults, when roles change and, you know, whatever comes to mind. Go ahead if you want to share.
when Kaya was speaking about not being able to come to Kimmy as a sister, I got a little emotional. I'm getting emotional now, I'm sorry. Because I had the sister. And, you know, when she tried to help me, of course I chop her down. So I'm like, you can't win for losing. Because I had the sister, but I ain't want to listen to her either. You know? So I got a little emotional because she was missing the sister part. But I had the sister part, but I didn't really, you know, she would say, I don't know what you're calling me for, because you're going to do what you want to do anyway. You know? But I guess she was still there for me to pick up and call as a sister, you know. And I just, you ain't had that, and I just got a little, you know, I had it and abused it, so to speak, but I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I'm very abused.
So that kind of stuck with me when you were talking. But and as far as the roles changing, so mom and I feel like the sister, and you're the mom. That's how we feel. You know?
Well, because that's what y'all did. I mean, they called me the mom, and a lot of times they didn't know how that offended me, because the relationship that I had desired to have with my mother, my sister had it, and they would talk about anything, and I felt like they wouldn't talk to me, but they discussed me, and so that kept me from really confiding really in either one of them. I just felt like they discussed me instead of talking to me or even helping me. But one day I had some makeup on, and my sister said, Mom said you finally figured out how to wear your makeup. And I'm thinking, it set me back a minute. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, if I was not wearing my makeup correctly, then why didn't she teach me how to do it and not make fun of me, so to speak? To me, that was making fun of me behind my back, and this is my sister and my mom. So it was little things like that you know. And my sister's very forward, so she'll repeat it, but because she doesn't see it as an offense, she just see it as they had a conversation. But the way that I would receive it like an offense to me because I didn't have
That
that
was a long
same
time ago.
relationship with my mom that my sister had. Even today, they can talk about anything. They can talk about relationships, sexual relationships. They can talk about a lot of stuff, and I just never felt like I could do that. Now, maybe that's just on me, but I just never felt like I could do that. I just felt like they really don't know who I have become. That's how I felt. So, you're talking about how you feel. I mean, people can't take away from you
For your story.
your story, right? What I'm feeling and why I felt that way. Go ahead, ladies. Anybody? I don't want to talk the whole time. You all welcome to.
But I can say for me as being the eldest, being that I played the role as the mom, I had no one to go to because I couldn't go to my mom and I didn't go to my sister because my sister was younger. So I felt I had no one. I had my cousins, I would talk to them, but like in the dynamics of being around, I felt like I had nobody, so I had no choice but to figure it out, things on my own, or just, or I just didn't talk about it. Like sometimes what my sister said, it kind of touched me too when she said, I feel like you have no voice. Because she felt like she had no voice, I felt like I had no voice. As being the eldest, even though she seen me in the light of being that mother figure, I in return still felt like I had no voice because who was listening to me other than my mom, me telling her what was my siblings doing or whatever. But I felt like I couldn't go to her as being a daughter to tell her who I was and what I felt and the things that I desired or whatever. I felt like I didn't have that, I would see the things that my cousin did, and I would always want to emulate the things that she did. As far as trying to, she went to school, she did all that. I tried to do all of that. I went to school. I went away, but because I was so embodied of being taking care of the house and being home, I couldn't even focus on that being away. So I stayed home. And I went and tried to do a local school. You go to local school and you work at the same time. But what do you end up doing? You create more bills, so you just tend to work more and you don't do school anymore. So that was my journey of schooling. I only did like 2 years, and then I just worked because I create. You have bills. You're trying to help mom because she's a single parent. She was leaning on you more, so I felt like it was my responsibility to help take care of home versus me going to finish school, which I always desired. To this day, I still desire to have a degree. And, my husband, we talk about that. He said, well, babe, you don't have to do that. But I said, yeah, I know, but there's something I want to do because I feel like I want to say I accomplished that, that I did that. And I still, that's on my mind. So you still try to do little things here and there to get things to achieve in life, but it still don't desire to fulfill that one thing that you want to accomplish as far as having a degree. So it's different things that as I'm maturing, as I'm an adult, that I see, I try to tend not to do the same things that I was brought up on with my girls. I have 2 girls that are 15 and 13. So I try to tend not to be, as overbearing over them and controlling over them as I was controlled.
Wow, I really hope that you are enjoying this segment. We're going to stop right here for session 1 of All in the Family. Please make sure you join us next week for the second half of All in the Family, where we come back and continuing this awesome discussion that we're having. And so I'm sure that it is something that you can relate to in your family. And just know that by understanding one another and just being able to open communication with each other, that we can bridge through some gaps and become that one loving family that you are designed to have. Or it can just help you sharpen up some of your communication skills that you have, and understanding that we all have our story. We all have our part that we play. And sometimes one may not understand what we're dealing with. But through effective communication, we can take all that family chaos and understand that, you know what? Love is what it does. So thank you for joining All in the Family. Look forward to seeing you next week, Monday night at 8 p.m. for part 2 of For Real, All in the Family. Minister Nita Kelly, please drop a message on the feed if anything that we can help you with. Please get in touch with me. I will be watching the feed for a few minutes after the broadcast, and I'll be happy to dialogue and communicate with you. So thank you so much. God